we're here. This is it. This is podcast episode number 1 of the Lead Up Leadership Podcast. I'm super juiced, super excited. I have one of my good friends, a brother, Mr. David Wilson.
What's up, sir?
What's up, man?
Hello. How you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. This is something that we had talked about, maybe a couple months?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or the idea of it, right?
The idea of just the overall podcast or just me being on an episode?
I think just the idea of me saying, hey, I want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
I checked in with you,
Mm-hmm.
Christian. Shout out to Christian,
Yeah.
Landa, and Zeba, right? And kind of, picking you guys' brain and just being accountable. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to do this. I'm gonna do it,
Mm-hmm.
and now here it is.
That's
in the making.
I thought it was longer than that. I honestly
it felt longer.
Yeah, I honestly thought when you said a couple months, I thought it was like close to a year, like 8 months. I'm being serious. I just thought that
right.
How we just sit on stuff and
right.
we say we're gonna do stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to speak it for a couple months, and then we kind of make our first step. And,
right.
But it probably was a summer when you had kind of text and sit the text out.
I mean, you just said it, right? There's a lot of things, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, where they have an idea or have a desire to do something, and they just keep it to themselves. But I've been trying to do a lot better with kind of just sharing with people, right? That's how it kind of started with doing my master's program, right? And just kind of speaking that into existence. And now just doing little things like this, right? Like this is just for fun, hoping that it can bring value and encouragement to people. And
that was a big one.
Yeah, and just educating people on leadership, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of this podcast, to connect with rising leaders like yourself, seasoned leaders from different industries, businesses, anywhere from the world, and really hearing their stories, their experiences, and the things that they've learned on their leadership journey. So I really appreciate you encouraging me to do this and just you being on this. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, always, anytime. I think, obviously, me and you both being in a creative space, making a podcast. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a filmmaker at Sac State, born and raised in Sacramento. But I remember when I first decided to pursue film, Renato was probably one of the first people that I kind of expressed that to, and so vice versa. So it would be a crime for me not to support and give back in some sort of way, whether it be support or encouragement, or both, when you are deciding to start a podcast. So congratulations to you.
Appreciate it, man.
It's just first of many.
Right. Exactly.
First of many.
So I'm excited, man. This is much as a journey.
Let's do this. This is episode 1.
Yes.
I got to be on episode 100.
Okay.
Let's go.
There it is.
I got to be on
episode 100. I don't know when exactly that's going to happen. Yep. But yes, I'll make that happen.
That'll be
there.
Cool.
It is.
That'll be cool.
We just did it.
Yep.
You're on episode 100.
Cool.
So let's, I know you kind of shared already, you're from Sacramento, right? You go to Sac State, but tell a little bit more about who you are, kind of your background, a little bit about your journey of how you got, because even, you talked about the filmmaking, right? Yep. That's your main focus right now, but that wasn't really the case. I mean, just not too long ago, right? Maybe a year, 2 years ago when we kind of first met. Yep. So maybe talk about a little bit before then and then leading up to that point.
Okay. Trying to figure out where to start. I think, again, David Wilson II, born and raised. My family's from Chicago. I was the only one born in Sac, the youngest of 4 children, 2 older brothers, 1 older sister. First one to attend, and as of next year in spring, I'll be the first and only child to graduate college in my family.
That's dope.
So that's a little bit about myself in terms of background. Grew up in a household with both parents. I always had my pops and my mom. And being able to see them together definitely was a blessing. You don't really realize that until I think the first time in probably high school is when I realized how blessed I was to have both my parents. Somebody that I knew, she heard me say that I had both my parents were married, and she looked at me and she said, "Both of your parents are still together."
Wow.
As if that's
abnormal.
Not abnormal, not the normal thing to happen. Yeah. So I looked at her and was confused, but then I really understood what she meant. But went to high school, took some film classes in high school. But when you're applying to colleges, no one really talks about arts. No one really talks about pursuing music or pursuing maybe your passion. Grew up in a neighborhood, not necessarily that was with people that I can kind of, touch bases with or talk to about film or whatnot.
Right.
Not really having those resources or people I can cling on to or knowing anybody in the industry, but just like any typical high school student that doesn't or high school graduate that doesn't really understand or know what they want to do in life.
Yeah.
I chose the more safer route. I was an econ major for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Sac City, which is our local college, local community college. Went there for a couple of years, transferred to Sac State. This is where my life kind of really started to take a change.
Yep.
And I think once, we spend all this time, people who go to JC, junior college route, we spend all this time looking at people who go to Sac States or university, four-year universities, and that is an apex, the zenith of university.
Yep.
And that's where you want to end up.
Yep.
And I got there, was an econ major, declared econ, and I was in my econ courses and econ classes, but I soon realized my first semester that I was depressed, that econ wasn't for me. I was literally my first semester. You would think that a student would be happy to go to class, finally make it to university, and be excited about the new experience. But literally my first semester, 2 months in, I mean, when I tell you a heavy depression came over me, and I didn't know I was depressed until later on. But
was this the time where you were actually considering like leaving school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it was in connection to film. So I was like,
I remember that.
I was like, I was unhappy with the university experience. And I was too scared to change my major in a sense because I hadn't done the research. It wasn't until after I'd done the research in terms of how long it would take me that I became a little more settled in the decision to change my major. But 2 months went by. So August, September, October is when I decided to change my major to film. And but leading up to that point, when I tell you, instead of staying up doing homework, I was looking up tutorials on how to do B-roll or how to edit or how to create graphics, and spending a lot of my time with not even having a camera, not really having equipment at all, or any experience. But I was doing heavy research on what would soon become the love of my life, my passion, something that I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's dope. And I mean, I've had the privilege of seeing, a lot of that journey, right? Even from you switching majors, right? And really just things took off. But before we get to like the now, I want you to talk about a little bit, when you started that switch and the things you started learning, because, when we started connecting a little bit more, you were staying up late, you were on campus like late in the nights and early in the morning, going on the weekends. Yeah. So talk to me about what that process was like, because you really just went all in. Yeah. So talk to me about that process and some of the challenges that you faced, and like, what did you learn from those challenges?
I think two biggest things that I learned was, first is like, I'm a spiritual guy. I believe in God, and literally the entire time I was talking to God, why is this heavy feeling of not wanting to pursue education, but wanting to pursue film was so heavy on me. And it wasn't that I was running from the university. I've been in school my whole life. Right. Pretty successful academically, not a bad student at all. I was just, I just felt this feeling of wanting to be creative, and I didn't need school. Yeah. But to answer your question, I found out that my happiness cannot be placed on a major. It cannot be placed on anybody, any person. I have to solely be conscious and be aware of who I am in order to really figure out what kind of person I want to be, what kind of husband I want to be, or just, what kind of career I want to choose. Yeah. And so it took a lot of soul searching, a lot of so it's definitely started within. It took a lot of research outside, but definitely I tapped into who I was as a person. Yeah. And film has been in me my whole life. I mean, even the smallest things of saying, staying up with my mom. I remember, 2 brothers living in the household with me. I grew up with my older sister's in her 40s, so she was out of the house by then. But I remember I was the one to want to watch a movie with my mom. Now, that sounds really minute to wanting to become a film major. Plenty of kids want to watch movies, right?
Right.
But I do remember being 12 years old and looking at scenes and being like rewinding stuff and
wow, really?
I remember specifically like Bad Boys. Even though it was cool,
yeah,
I always had a curiosity to how did they do that? If you ever seen Bad Boys 2, how did Michael Bay do that freeway scene? Or that was a cool shot. Right. Those would be the ways in which I would describe stuff, but I never knew that meant that I had a gift in photography and film.
Right.
So that's kind of where it kind of originated. But I really truly during that time found out that I got to quiet the noise. I can't really listen to other people. Yeah. I can't be afraid. I think the biggest fear was telling my parents that I was going to change my major, but they greeted me with open arms. Wow. It's funny because sometimes we'll tell ourselves no before we even hear it.
Right.
And so,
was that surprising to you?
It wasn't surprising. My parents were super supportive. I think I was just more so the pressure for myself wanting to finish school. And then me living with my parents, it would add more time that I would be spending with them.
I see.
I'm sure they don't want me in their house, till I'm 40.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near 40. So let's clear that up. But
he's single, y'all.
Yeah, I am. But it was just those type of fears. So it was definitely peer pressure from my parents, from my family, that didn't even exist, but you create in your own head.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about some of like the opportunities or the things that have come out of that? The late nights, those, long projects, or just those where you're staying up late to like learn different techniques. Or I remember you would show me like, ooh, check out this new animation that I made. I'm like, oh, that's dope. And then can you share about like the different opportunities and what's come out of those times of just like putting in the extra hours and the work? Because I do want to touch on what you said about fear, because I mean, again, there's people in the same field, right, that probably been doing it longer, but I don't think I've seen the kind of the acceleration that I've seen in you. It's just a short amount of time.
Yeah. I think sacrifice. So I just wrote this down. I got a calendar up above my desk, and I write affirmations for myself all the time. And
nice.
One of the things that I just wrote was sacrifice.
Is that your love language? Is that one of your love affirmations?
You know what? I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
You should check it out. There's are you familiar with like the love languages, like tests and quizzes?
Yeah. It's funny. Ziba, our friend Anthony Ziba, he actually took the test and he was telling me about it, but I haven't had a chance to take it. But
you should definitely check it out. Listeners, y'all should definitely take a chance, whether you're in a relationship or not. This is more for you. Figure out again, this is talking about self-awareness, right? Going back to what you're talking about.
And that's what it is, right? It's a test for
you can do Myers-Briggs, so many different tests like that. I think this is more specific of, whether it's affirmations, getting gifts, quality time, right? And there's other things like that. But anyways, back to what you're saying.
But I mean, it definitely goes hand in hand with what you're talking about. But I think sacrifice. So again, like I spoke on before, that I'm a believer. The only good things, I shouldn't say the only good things, but in order to get somewhere in life, it requires some type of sacrifice. And we have to die daily to our old habits. We have to die daily to the things that we don't necessarily want to do in order to get someplace. There are days when I don't feel like staying up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure there were days when I didn't feel like staying up really, really late. But I knew through enough time of sacrificing that something would be on the other side of that. And so that is so to your point, I stayed up late.
What's going through your mind? Because I want to kind of like park here just a little bit, because there's a lot of people, I mean, everybody, me included, right? Where we have those moments of like, it's late, I'm tired. Was there anything specific that was like, all right, I'm doing this because I know I will, or what are you telling yourself? What are you thinking about when you get to that moment? Because I know that, excuse me, that can help some people, right? Because they struggle with that. A lot of times they'll just get to that point and they'll tap out.
Yeah.
So what was it for you?
Yeah.
Because you've done that multiple times.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's part of your success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because people tap out is because of whatever they're running towards or whatever's driving them to stay up late is not on solid ground. And when I say solid ground, I mean like it's not coming from a place of a good foundation. As for me, the reason why I would stay up late was because I was in love with the process. And not to sound like cliche or anything like that, but that's really what it was. I was learning at the same time, but even though it sucked, because I mean, before, let me put it this way, before I had Adobe, I have 3 email accounts. I made 3 email accounts, used them. So I changed my major in October. I used the 30-day trial 3 times.
Trials.
Yeah, I did it because I wanted to learn. So for 6 months, for 3 months, for free, I was able to learn the potential tools that I would use once I really bought a camera and got really involved in my gift. But that requires a sacrifice, staying up late, remembering that the 30 days are ticking or clock. So what are you going to do with those 30 days? When I get around, if we get around to talking about time or pressure, those 30 days required pressure because I had 30 days to learn this stuff or before my trial ran out, you know, and those were kind of tests and barometers to see whether or not if I wanted to do it without costing me anything. So it didn't really cost me anything in terms of money because it was a free trial, but it cost me time. But those were the sacrifices that I had to do. But that was and it goes hand in hand because right after that I bought my camera about 5 months later. But by that time I had known how to use all the Adobe softwares, and so when I bought my camera, it just came down to using it.
So, from the last year or two, what's been like one of your most, or the things that you kind of reflect on that's been like a really cool success for you, or just like a cool experience within, you know, the film, or things that you've been learning, or maybe people you've met? Can you share like a 1 or 2 opportunities or things that have happened that you've experienced that just happened and you're like, whoa, I didn't think this would ever happen to me?
There's a bunch. So again, there's a bunch. I think for sure. So how I bought my camera is another story. So I pretty much swapped. So I paid off my car. I had enough money saved up to be able to pay off my car, which was like $2,500. So I paid off my car, but then I replaced that payment with a $4,000 camera purchase. But I had been in the banking industry, so I knew that the credit card that I got came with like 0% interest for 18 months.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So I was able to have 18 months to pay it off. But some of the successes that came from that was I had 18 months to pay it off.
Right.
So I had to like actually do and learn how to edit and learn how to do all these different things. So that put me in positions to like learn and meet new people. But one of the things that I really gained from that was, obviously the company that we work for, I saw opportunity within the company that where we lacked. And I think that's also important. To like enter a situation.
Talk about that.
Any kind of situation that we enter, I think sometimes, because one of my taglines, if you follow me on Instagram and YouTube, one of the taglines that I use that is something that sticks with me is give first, right? So if you look on my Instagram, it says start with giving because too many people take. So a lot of times we don't enter situations looking.
That's a tweet, y'all.
Right. A lot of times we don't enter situations trying to give first or trying to see where in areas, even in relationships, within your job, and I feel like if we start there first and then we can kind of expound and opportunities will open up because you're able to find where you can give and add value. So for instance, for this job where we work, I was able to see that we had a need in the media department. We had no social media. The company that we work for is one of the largest organizations in Sacramento, California, but our Instagram doesn't look like it, or neither does our YouTube.
Right.
And I mean, here I am with a camera, brand new camera, and you know, so long story short, for the first 6 months, I worked for free. So me being brand new kind of to the industry, I decided to work for free. I didn't have any experience, so I didn't have any leverage in this situation. But I went to my bosses and I said, hey, I want to create content for you, you know, and I want to do it for free. So for the first 6 months, I did that for free. And after the 6 months was over, the summer hit. And
but at this time, you already working right for the company in a different
capacity for sure.
And I want you to talk about that because, in my opinion, right, and the other people within the organization felt like you were great, and I think you know that, right, in terms of like you did that position well.
Okay.
But you were very firm. I'm like, even though I can do a good job here, I'm still like. My main goal is to do this. And there was a little pushback on that, but you stood firm. So talk about that. Why is that important? Because again, people might be okay. Right? That either other people are telling them or they feel like, oh, okay, I can do this, but they really rather do this. But because either it's safe or just because like people are just telling that, hey, that's you and go for it. What was it for you that you're very confident enough to like, you know what? No, I definitely want to do this.
I think it's about like, instead of playing a position that pays the most or playing a position that has the most, I don't know, that's dressed the nicest. I'm just about playing my role that best fits me. So similar to like, you know, basketball, football, I've never been a guy who needed to be captain or needed to be CEO or needed to be the top dog. Wherever I fit within an organization, wherever I fit within, I know I'm a leader. I don't need to hold a leadership title to be a leader. I just believe in, you're probably most happiest doing something that you love. And so if that meant that I had to pursue a position that didn't exist, and because this position that I have now didn't exist prior to, but it was really more so about, where does my effectiveness and my just where can I be most effective? Right. And so even though I may be good at these other things, I knew that where I would be most effective would be behind the camera. And so being a manager was great and it was fun, but at the same time, what was driving me to wake up? I mean, when I tell you I wake up differently than I did before, and I loved working with students and I loved managing and I loved doing those things. But when I wake up now, it's so much better because I wake up doing I wake up doing what I love, whether it be school, whether it be work. And so it's all about finding an area in which you're most effective, that you love doing, not necessarily what that job title is. Right. So that's pretty much how I look at it.
That's awesome. Can you share recently, I don't know how long ago, maybe like a month or two, maybe 3 months, don't know the exact timeline, but you actually won this contest at Sac State, right? Nice little prize money. Talk about how that opportunity came up, because I feel like that was a huge, I mean, like compared to the other videos, yours was the best. I'm not even being biased, but
I know. No, it's
talk about that, because that, man, that was dope.
So let's see, where do I even begin? So that was crazy. So not even just after a year of me doing, starting this whole film journey, we were at an IYTU meeting, and brother Christian had seen a flyer that had, and we were just talking about this the other day, me and Christian, but he's seen a flyer that had a film competition. Winner gets $1,500, and but the application had to be turned in the next day. So get this, it was January 29th.
Dang, you remember the date?
It was January 30th.
Okay.
Christian turned to me and said, D, you need to do this competition. The deadline to sign up is February 1st. And it's crazy because they had I guess the first deadline was back in January, but they hadn't got enough.
Extended it, right?
They hadn't got enough recipients or people to sign up, applicants. And so Christian told me to sign up, and I was like, oh snap, I'm gonna do it. So literally, I went home. I think the first night, the 30th, I didn't sign up. It was the 31st in which I signed up. So I signed up on the January 31st. But the long story short was for us to people who were competing, we was to make a 5-minute documentary on someone from the university. And instead of trying to make a documentary, plopping my camera down and just talking to someone in their regular office on campus, I wanted to really challenge myself. Because I had never done anything like this before. All the videos I had created before weren't anything close to doing somewhat of a documentary style narrative and all this other stuff. And so throughout the semester, so we have about 4 to 5 months to create this video, submit it, and then there's a video competition like ceremony afterwards. Long story short, I won. And it's crazy because it's not about necessarily winning. It was the process was so unfamiliar that everything that I had learned from that has made me a better videographer. And it wasn't about the money. $1,500 just is great. I was so happy about it, but that's not what I remember. You don't remember necessarily the win and the feeling of the win. Like that's great. I remember those sacrifices.
Everything leading up to that.
Man, everything that led up to that day that I won. I stayed up so late at times editing that video, trying to make the sound, trying to find sound, making sure that everything was just done to a T so that way I walked away from it. Knowing that I really tried and that I didn't leave anything on the table. And so that's what I remember from that competition. It wasn't necessarily the money. And then everything that came after that. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have multiple mentors, but one of my mentors in particular had known I was doing a video competition. And this is why it's so important to just do and like to just take risk and to sacrifice. So I won a competition. And I think the same week, me and my mentor went to lunch. So I sent him a text and get this. He goes, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. And this guy I met 6 years ago. It's a really, really nice dude, down to earth. He's well off. And he just took an interest in me one day, where I used to work. But we've developed a relationship over time. And he's been so good to me and my brothers. He gives me money randomly, knowing that I'm he just sees a lot of potential in me. I'm so grateful to have him as a mentor. But he took me to lunch and he gave me an additional $1,500.
Wow.
So, I mean, literally what I thought was just going to be a situation where I just earn, won $1,500. Maybe I can, add something else, buy a lens. And this industry is expensive. And so for me to not only win, but then have my winnings matched by someone who admired me, who had believed in me. I mean, that was, I thought that was awesome. But then it went a step further, and this is why I don't tell this story. When I do tell a story, it's never to boast, because I got what I needed out of it. I don't need any more of anyone to, oh, you're awesome. I don't need that. What I got from it is what I got from it, and I don't need anything else. But I share the story because during that lunch, after he slid me the check and got the awkwardness out of the way, and I said thank you, and I'm telling him, he gave me the check for $1,500. So now I'm sitting with $3,000 over a span of 4 months just for making a 5-minute video that I signed up a day before, and I spent the whole semester doing. But then while we're sitting at the table, I'm telling him how much I appreciate it and how much it means to me, and he proceeds to ask me, okay, so what else do you need? And I started telling him. And I had it's funny because the lady that I did the documentary on, she had another connection to where I can do another job. So I'm telling him about this another opportunity. So many things came after this competition. But long story short, he my mentor told me to, you know what, he wanted to fund my next project.
Wow.
And so he asked me, you know, of course I was like confused and shocked.
Right.
And he asked me how much did I think it would cost. And man, when I tell you, it blows my mind still. My mentor, I told him it was going to be $5,000 or $6,000 to just fund the next project, and that if I was to purchase it outright, and because typically I rent my stuff, but he went ahead and funded my whole project. So not only, I mean, it's crazy. So not only do I have $3,000 worth of winnings, based on him matching my competition money, but now he's willing to invest in me additional $6,000.
Right.
I mean,
that's huge.
It literally set up, you know, that could potentially have set up my, my career moving forward.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm still, even looking at you now, like I'm still, it's heavy.
Right.
Because no one just does that kind of stuff. And so, I think I have to realize not to ignore that situation and say, wait, D, like someone was willing to give you $6,000 and trust you. That's huge. So what is it that you did during this time to develop this relationship?
Right.
You know, what is it? What does that speak to kind of person you are? So I'm trying to be very aware of like who I am. So that way, not that so people can give me more, but to continue to do the good that I'm trying to do. And, you know, hopefully good things come back to me.
Man, I didn't even know about that part.
Yeah.
That's crazy. As we wrap up this episode, excuse me, can you share just a little bit more about what can we expect from you, right, for the future in terms of like some of the goals that you have for yourself, whether it's this year, the next few years, kind of like, I don't know if you have an end goal, right, in terms of like the career. I know you've thought about more school after Sac State. Can you just share a little bit more of like what's David Wilson doing the next year or two?
Oh, easy. So I recently took a trip down to LA to figure that out. You know, I've grown up in Sacramento my whole life. Never thought I'd be the one to. I'm so anti like LA, and it's like I don't know why it's always. I think because growing up, people are always down in Sacramento, and you know, this isn't this, and I'm from here, so I've never been one to like bash it. So you know, I believe wherever you come from is where you come from, and it raised you it made you the person that you are some kind of way. But I went down to LA for the first time back in August, and I was able to really hear from God, man. And, I went down there with the intentions of thinking that God was going to speak to me and tell me whether or not if I was going to go to LA for grad school, or whether or not if I should stay at home and do YouTube or pursue a business and just doing videography, photography. But in terms of your question, being that I'm spiritual and I'm tapped in with God, and I really got peace in terms of the direction that I'm going doesn't matter. And it's more so about including God in it. So whether I choose to apply to film school in the next year after I graduate, or I choose to stay home and do YouTube or start a business, wherever that is, God's got a plan for everything. And that regardless of the scenario that I'm in, He's come through for me before. He'll put people in my life that will pour into me, and I will pour into them just as much as He would like me to. And so regardless of what that looks like, I'm thinking about film school a lot more lately. I'll be creating a narrative for it. I'm working on a script now in my script class. So stuff like that, just trying to really piece it all together. I don't know many people that's been in this situation or pursued film school, but just figuring it out. But if I have to say, it would definitely be doing film, definitely be doing photography. And if so, most likely it'll probably be down in LA.
That's dope, man. Yeah. Well, either way, I'm excited for whatever happens. I mean, you got the juice, man. You got the skill. You
I appreciate it, man. I hope so.
If people want to kind of follow the journey or just kind of be connected with you, how can they follow that? How can they connect with you?
I am on every platform under the name Sewn Up. It's
Can you spell that out?
Yeah, it's actually it's spelled without the E or the O. So there's two definitions of sewing up. There's a planting of a seed when you sow something in the ground, and then there's a sewing into clothing fabric. But it means both, based on what my content on YouTube will create, that I will create. But focused around giving, sowing seeds through God's word, but also using my gift to showcase on YouTube and share and teach film and photography. So it's all through sewing. But to spell that out is SWNUP on all social platforms. And I think on Twitter it's SWN_.
UP.
Yeah, SWNUP _, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm barely on Twitter, but all the other platforms.
Same thing for YouTube? Sewn Up?
Same thing on YouTube. I'm actually the only one with that name.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so if you Google me, So, it's all there.
That's dope, man. Well, again, I appreciate it, man. This is
my man.
Episode 1. I'm excited to see you on episode 100.
Let's go.
And see where you are at that time. Excited for all the things you have.
Yeah.
Man, this is
I'm excited for you, man. Yeah. Absolutely. This is one of many. Seriously, yeah. And before we get out of here, I've said it before. Just being, it's been a pleasure watching your growth.
Oh man.
And there's something to be said about accountability and speaking it to people that you trust,
right?
Because they hold you accountable. And so whether it be me just asking you how's that going or what's the progress on it, it applies pressure for you to move, even when it puts you in uncomfortable situations. But I'm proud to see you, man. You got your mic, computer out, and you are pursuing this thing.
Yes, sir.
And I'm happy for you. So many more blessings to come, bro.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, bro.
Always.
Yep. Always. Y'all stay tuned for the next episode. Lead Up Leadership Podcast.